39.
Number 1.
39.
1.
38.
37.
36.
35.
34.
33.
32.
31.
30.
29.
28. 27.
26.
25.
24.
23.
22.
21.
20.
19.
18. 17. 16.
15.
14.
13.
12.
11.
10. 9. 8.
7. 6. 5.
4.
3.
2.
1. It's time for mouthwash. Giddy up. Hi, and welcome to the Mouthwash Talk Show, a minty fresh take on politics. But hey, tonight we don't have politics. We're going to talk about the month of May in Indy. We have Marotti Auto spots. Marotti. Lisa was working with me on that. Does not mess up the name, and I did it. So yeah, we have Will Marotti on here, and he's owner of a race team, and he's a pastor, and I think he's got ADHD of everything he does. So this is going to be a great show tonight. We have Peeps on the Streets. We have Mark Small with Small Talk. We have what I call Charlie's Angels here tonight. We have 3 females talking about auto racing, and this is going to be good. This is going to be good. And we have my lovely wife on tonight. She's going to talk about her brand for the Love of Speedway and her experience at the track. So let's get to this thing. Let's go ahead. I'm going to go. Let's do this. Let's get the sponsorship out of the way here. I'm going to go ahead and play our Bimbo Bakeries. They are sponsoring our show. And then also, if you need a job, here's a good opportunity right here. You can call this number, ask for Becky Morris, and she'll hook you up with delivering all sorts of bread and other things. They have the largest bakery in the world. So without any other things here to say, I'm going to go ahead and bring on Mr. Marotti. I'm probably not saying the name right.
Close. It's close.
Yeah. Marotti.
Marotti. There you go.
Yeah, never mind.
Yeah.
I'll edit it back in. Right.
Thank you.
So Will, thanks for being on the show with us. Go ahead and introduce yourself and tell our audience a little about where you're from and
Sure.
why are you on the Mouthwash show?
So I born and raised in Connecticut, so I'm a New Englander, and pretty uneventful life, I guess, up until my early 20s, and I became a follower of Jesus. And a little bit later, after I got married, met my wife, and it's a whole amazing story. We thought it was a blind date, and it wasn't, but maybe she was blind because she ended up marrying me. I don't know, but and I've been a pastor for 30 years. And 24 years ago, Ann and I started a church called New Life Church in Connecticut. We started with 3 people in our living room. Church, God's blessed it over the years, and now it's a church of about 850 people. We've got a 56-acre campus in Wallingford, Connecticut. We have a private school, a daycare, summer camp, about a dozen other ministries that are led by lay people in the church. And we just love helping folks. Blessing people, and God's been good to us. But always, before I was a pastor, before I was a husband, before I was a father, I have 2 children. Our daughter is a nurse. She practices down in New York City. And our son works at Chick-fil-A, and he's an awesome Chick-fil-A employee. Before I was a father, a husband, a follower of Jesus, I was a race car fan. And I fell in love with racing. Early in my life, my dad would take us to a little quarter midget track in our town. In fact, the same quarter midget track that Joey Logano cut his teeth on when he was coming up. And I fell in love with it then, and we saw that. And then went to some local races. But in 1969, I was listening to the family radio outside. My dad was working on the yard, and I landed on something that sounded like an auto race. And it was the greatest spectacle in racing. And it was, of course, the voice of Sid Collins. It was the 1969 Indianapolis 500. And by then I had really gotten captivated with racing. And so I listened to it, and I was shocked that a guy whose last name kind of sounded like mine won the race, Marotti and Andretti. I thought, oh, this is wonderful, right? And, oddly enough, divine providence, all these years later, I would end up broadcasting my own radio show on the same channel that I first listened to the Indy 500 on, which is WTIC News Talk 1080 at Hartford, Connecticut. And so, so I've just been a fan my whole life. And IndyCar captured my heart. I like all kinds of racing, but my heart's with IndyCar. And so I remember the first time I went to Indianapolis was 1982. And I went with two buddies. We hopped in the car. We didn't have tickets. We had nothing. We drove out there. We stayed on someone's front lawn. She was gracious, let us use her shower. And we bought tickets. I didn't realize scalping is legal in Indiana. It's not in Connecticut. It's very much against the law in Connecticut. Of course, everything's against the law in Connecticut. And so we bought these great tickets from scalpers. And so 1982 was a great race. It was a shootout between Gordon Johncock and Rick Mears with 10 laps to go. But when I first walked onto the facility, I'm telling you that the sky was never bluer. The grass was never greener. I thought I had gone to heaven. And so it got me. It bit me. And it's just been hard. I really, really love Speedway. And talk about changes. The difference from Speedway in 1982 and Speedway today. Oh my gosh, it's amazing the amount of changes taking place. But I loved it all these years. And when I got out of school, I went to Skip Barber Racing School. I tried racing for a little while, but we didn't have the money to back it. And so I just became a super fan. And then in 2015, I'm trying to shorten this as much as I can, John. In 2015, we were hosting a large trade show event at our church. And I was inspired by the story of a man who'd become blind through an accident and started his own race team. And his name is Jay. He has an NHRA funny car. And as I'm listening to his story, I said to myself, God, if you could do this for Jay, maybe you could do it for me. So I went on and told my wife, I said, it's 2015. Next year is the 100th running of the 500. And so I'm going to start a team, and we're going to get a car in the 100th running of the 500. And everybody said, you're crazy.
Yeah.
Done. It's like going from Pop Warner football to the Super Bowl in 1 year. Can't be done. Everybody said it can't be done. And I get energized when I'm told I can't do something. It gives me more excitement. And just God blessed us. We put a team together. We got money together. And we ended up being the co-entrant with Schmidt-Peterson Motorsports. So it was Schmidt-Peterson Marotti Auto Sport. And our driver with Oriole Serbia. We qualified 9th. We had a great race. And with 4 laps to go, we were in 4th place. But we were on the same problem. We had the same problem everybody else had, which we were low on fuel. We decided with 2 laps to go, we originally were going to talk about doing a splash and go. We just come in and just dump about 1.5 gallons of fuel, just enough to make it. But we messed up the pit stop. We finished 12th. But it was a wonderful experience. And that was it. At that time, I thought it was going to be a one-off. Just do it one time, bucket list, check it off. But I got bit. I got bit hard by the competition bug. And so we came back in 17. We did 4 races with Sam Schmidt. We had for 500, we had the Mad Russian. Mikhail Aloshin was our driver. He qualified 10th, was in the top 10 all day until Ed Carpenter crashed into him and damaged his car. He finished 13th. Then we missed the next couple of years, and we came back in 2020. We had a really great sponsor. We partnered with Dale Coyne, Vassar Sullivan, Santino Ferrucci was our driver. Santino had a great run. He finished 4th. Of course, there was nobody there. It was 2,400 people in 2020. It was like the CEO of the company, me, and 2,398 of our closest friends. That was it, right? So, and then in 2021, we said we really need to change how we're doing this. We really need to step into ownership of a team instead of just being like a broker, which is how we've been functioning all these years. And so we came up with this concept of the Spirit of Speedway. Now, the Spirit of Speedway, back in the day, it was very common that cars were named after towns. Towns like Lebanon, Terre Haute, Dayton, Ohio, Daytona Beach had 2 entries. Glendale, California had 2 entries. they would name cars the spirit of whoever, right? So I did the research and found that in the entire history of the Indianapolis 500, there's never been a car entered under the name that is the home of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, Indiana. And so that's how we birthed Spirit of Speedway, and very popular. People liked it right away, so we trademarked it. We just got copyright for word mark and trademark and logo. And so we're doing our best to try to put a team together to compete in the 500. And we just recently had a huge breakthrough where we've got a driver who's committed to the team.
So who's your driver?
Ed Jones is our driver.
Okay,
He's
okay.
with us through 2024. Ed was going to be here tonight, but he's racing in the IMSA WeatherTech Series. He raced in Monterey, California over the weekend, came back with a horrible cold, and he was just not able to function tonight. So he apologizes for that.
His
Ed,
loss, right? Not everybody gets to be on the Mouthwash show. So
one of the biggest hurdles for us is being able to say up front who our driver is. Now we can say that. And so we're just excited. God's been good. There's a lot of good things happening. We're building a great team. And we got our children's book. We wrote a children's book called The Spirit of Speedway. That we're launching that this Friday at the USAC building in Speedway. And Ed Jones is going to be there, do autographs. And we've got our Spirit of Speedway custom stickers that we're going to be handing out for kids. We're going to give away
nice
books. We're going to giving away books to the first 25. There's the book right there. So proud of this, written on a second and third grade level.
I can understand it even. Okay.
Anybody, John. So Mark Dill's the author. Mark used to work at the track. Marilyn Smith, beautiful illustration. She knocked it out of the park. My idea, my storyline, I'm the creator, but they did all the hard work. So we're excited. We're excited, and we're looking forward to what God has for us in the future.
Yeah, that you talk about that. You talk about the tradition and all that, and this is going to be a good segue because you're right across the street from the Wilcox Engineering Building, which that's where they're doing a little pop-up shop. And my wife Lisa, who's going to be on here later, I did the peeps on the streets from there, and that's where I go out and ask people questions. And the questions were just pretty simple. One thing: where are you from? How long you been? What's your favorite part of the race? And this is right across the street from the USAC building. And you're going to be there again 3 to 5?
3 to 5. The Friday the 19th. We'll be at the USAC building. We're going to have our show car there. The Spirit of Speedway Eagle is going to be there. And Ed Jones will be there. And we just want to, and we'll have some refreshments and some snacks. And we just want to bless the kids and have a great time and introduce finally the Spirit of Speedway book to Speedway, Indiana.
All right. Well, hey, I'm down for that. I don't think I'm doing anything that day, so I will do that. So good. I'm going to go ahead and roll the peeps on the streets, and I have to apologize for my first person, who she was from the UK, and she was married to a Scottish guy. So hers is a little bit wonky because I had some technical problems, but I think you'll enjoy this. So we had a UK, a Scottish, Michigan, and a Speedway person. So here you go. And then we're going to bring our panel on the other side. So enjoy this. Hi, this is John Schmitz for the Mouthwash Talk Show, a minty fresh take on politics. And I'm down here at the corner of 16th and Main Street in Speedway. And we're at a pop-up shop at the Wilcox building here. And we're going to see what the peeps on the streets have to say about the Indy 500. All right, where are you from?
I'm from Nottingham, UK, England.
Like you have castles over there?
Yeah, we do. We have Robin Hood's castle.
Oh, I would love to have a castle. How long have you been coming to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway?
We've been in Indiana for 6 years. We've come to Speedway quite a lot from here, but we've only ever been to the race one time.
All right, what's your favorite thing about the race?
You hear this? You hear the sound?
Yeah, there's the buzzing in the background.
That's my favorite thing.
Where are you from?
I'm from Battle Creek, Michigan.
All right, how long have you been coming down to the track here in Indianapolis?
Since 1984.
84. What's your favorite thing at the Indianapolis 500?
It's got to be the track, the history, the tradition.
All right. Where are you from?
I'm from west of Scotland, Glasgow.
West of Scotland.
In the UK.
When's the first time you actually came to the race?
So I came to the race in 2018. It was the first time. And I'm trying to come back as often as possible,
Yeah. So what's your favorite thing about the race?
I think it's got to be the size of the crowd, the volume. It's the biggest sporting event in the world, and I think it ticks every box. Gets me going.
All right. Where are you from?
Speedway, Indiana.
All right. How long have you been coming to the track?
Well, I'm born and raised here. So all of my life, since 1957. How's that?
What is your favorite thing about the Indianapolis 500?
Oh my goodness. Just the roar of the cars, the sounds of the engines, the massive crowds, and all that it brings to our town.
Well, that's a wrap for Peeps on the Streets down here in Speedway, Indiana. All right. Hey, look, I actually did the transition right for once, Lucy. Usually, Will, when I do this, Lucy's out there somehow. She just always wants to hog the show. So, but we have our panel. So since I mentioned Lucy, we're going to start with Lucy. Let's bring Lucy out here. Last week, she had some technical difficulties, but now we have her live in studio, sporting our sponsor there in the background. How are you, Lucy?
I am doing great. And Will, it's a pleasure to meet you. I definitely understand the Indy 500 bug. In fact, we should take a poll. I think I'm the one who lived the closest to the track the longest because I grew up in Eagledale. So I literally grew up at 3113 Eagledale Drive. People paid to park in our yard. Didn't meet my husband until IUPUI when I was 19 years old, but he grew up a few streets away. So yeah, the whole culture is just my childhood.
The tradition. Well, we don't have a contest for that, Lucy, so sorry.
Well, make it up so I can be a winner. I got to win something.
Well, how many years was that, though?
I lived, 10 years, and then we moved over to Eagledale, too. So I went to Northwest High School, and I lived just a couple of blocks from that. And, of course, what would happen on carb day is we all would find our way over to the track and skip school.
That's a must. That's easy. Okay, so now we'll bring.
Lucy, can I ask Lucy a question real quick?
Sure, you can. Yeah, go ahead.
Lucy, is Speedway welcoming of outsiders? Do you think? I wonder sometimes with small towns, because I'm a northerner. I'm from Connecticut. Do you think it's easy to break into Speedway culture?
I'm actually going to say no. And the reason I'm going to say no is because I live next door in Eagledale, and we were the poor side of Speedway. We didn't have the Speedway zip code. We didn't have the Speedway schools. We had the Indianapolis public schools. So we were the poor kids, coming over. Speedway has actually, I think they've done a really good job. I mean, their school system is tops. It competes with all the other suburbs, but there it is tucked right there. There's a lot of pride in Speedway. And so I would say they love the people to come in and spend their money for the race. They really appreciate that. But then they're ready for them to go because they've all been puking in our yards and peeing in our yards and, peeling out in our yards. We got to, fix the grass after they're gone, but we do enjoy the money. That's for sure.
Yeah. Sure.
So John, can I weigh in on that?
Well, you'll get your chance in a second.
I want to weigh in on that question.
Okay.
I'm sorry, John. I didn't mean to
on the show,
disrupt
people.
the flow.
Yeah. So go ahead. You can ask Lucy a question. She's our guest.
Lucy has great perspective, and it is during a certain time frame, right? So when I moved to Speedway in late 2008 to early 2009, it was starting to change a little bit because that's when the redevelopment on Main Street had started. And so a lot of people started moving into Speedway, kind of like people moving into Bates Hendricks and Fountain Square and places like that in Indianapolis. And so I would say over the last 15 years or so, that has changed a little bit. There are a lot of young families that have moved from suburbs, kids that their parents might have gone to Speedway High School. And so now these kids and grandkids are moving back or moving into Speedway to be closer to family. So I think it's changed just a little bit since then.
Yeah. Okay. Well, now you get your chance to be out there. Okay. So here you go. And we're waiting for Tiffanie. Tiffanie is still en route to getting back there. So when she gets here, we're going to put her on. So we'll have all three of our ladies tonight, to do this. So we got AKA for the Love of Speedway, my wife, Lisa Schmidt's on here. So go ahead and introduce yourself and try to keep it short. I mean, really?
I know. So Will, we had in our vows that he promised to listen to my long stories. So,
but I didn't say I wouldn't make fun of him.
Yes.
So I got that clause
true.
in there. So go ahead.
We enjoy the commentary, John. We enjoy the commentary.
Yes.
Okay. So I want to share first how Will and I met.
Yeah.
And I have this little brand called For the Love of Speedway. Oh, there it is on that side. That when I bought my house in Speedway, and Lucy, I would say I was closer than you, but you have more years than I had. So I was there almost 10 years. and we literally were 3 blocks from the main entrance.
Yeah, you got me beat by a couple of blocks, darn it.
Yeah, sorry, but you have the time on your side. So, but I started For the Love of Speedway as a little Facebook and Instagram account to share just fun, positive, good things about the town and about the race and about the history and all that. Because most of the other Facebook pages that were run by residents were places for people to complain. And I wanted it to be just all fun, good stuff. Well, then it turned into this little brand. I also made my own set of race flag pennants to go all the way around my porch. And my neighbors started asking me to make them because the lady who had made them for years, like 50 years before, had passed away. Nobody was actually making them and selling them. And so I said, of course I'll make them for you, but you could do this yourself. Like it's not that hard. And they're like, no, we want to pay you to do it. So now 10 years, this is my 10-year anniversary of For the Love of Speedway. I have been making flag sets every year. I've made literally hundreds of them. But when you guys launched your Spirit of Speedway car, you somehow found me on Instagram and said, we need those flags on our tent at the fairgrounds when we launch our car.
We still have them too.
Yeah. And so that's how we got connected. And then we've just stayed connected all this time. And I love everything that you're doing and the fact that you are sharing the spirit and the history and the tradition. And to me, that's my most favorite part of all of it. So,
yeah. Okay. Now tell us something about you. I'm going to give you is there a question in there, Lucy, comment in about a minute. So,
okay. Well, so let me tell you how I got to Indianapolis.
How about we start with your name and just that part?
Oh, well, okay. I'm Lisa Schmitz, and I have a brand called For the Love of Speedway, and I sell all kinds of fun racing, Speedway-related art, and come to the Speedway Arts Council pop-up shop on all of the key qualifying days. Community Day, we're open. We're open the weekend in the Wilcox building where John did Peeps on the Streets, and come buy some fun racing art. Tons of artists, like 12 or 13 artists. Yeah, what else do you want to know, John?
Now tell your story about how you got here.
So I moved here from Arkansas in 1995 because my then husband wanted to live the dream and work on a race team. And I said, no one in Indianapolis is going to think that you know a thing about race cars living in Little Rock, Arkansas. We need to live in Indianapolis. So we picked up no jobs, no nothing, 2 small kids, 4th and 6th grade, moved to Indy. My first job was at IMS, and it took him 4 years to get a racing job, but I was the personnel manager for the retail department. So I hired all the staff that runs all the gift shops and nonprofits that we hire to come in and run gift shops during race time. And they didn't have an HR department at the time. And 4 years into that job, they started an HR department. And in 1999, I became the very first HR manager at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Wow. And my director that hired me left within a couple of years. And so we had a couple of other directors that came in, but there were some pretty long stints that I basically ran that department. One of the things that I loved so much about it was that in 1999, we participated in the very first NASCAR diversity internship program. And my intern was in the inaugural class. And we ended up hiring her full time after she graduated from school. And then a few years in, after I had left to have a normal Monday through Friday daytime job, because 2 teenage girls at home unsupervised a lot was not a great thing when my then husband finally got his racing job and was traveling 200 days a year. But when she decided to leave, she called me and she's like, Lisa, I think I want to go to law school. And I'm like, Nicole, you need to go to law school. And so she's probably one of my all-time favorite hires in my whole 30-year HR career. And I just talked to her yesterday. And so we were part of that very first NASCAR internship or diversity internship program back in 1999 or 2000. It was 2000 was when we did that one. So yeah, lots of great memories. I still get chills when I pull into the tunnel at 16th Street to go into the museum. It about makes me cry every time there's a flyover. Like I've never lost just that love. And it wasn't initially mine. It was my ex-husband's, even though before I even knew him, it always seemed like on Memorial Day in my small town of Arkadelphia, Arkansas, or Sunday, the race would be on the TV because it was the only thing that was on. And so I feel like I knew who the drivers' names were. I used to watch, just kind of vicariously, not really as a super fan like you will. But let me tell you, when I met my then husband and we started going to sprint car races, and he raced a mini sprint and all that, so we did all the dirt track stuff.
Mhm.
It hooks you, like it literally hooks you. And we loved it. So now I feel like I've kind of lived that the whole, I've been here almost 30 years now. So,
Wow.
yeah, so it's just become a way of life. And then when John and I met, he's a huge fan and goes to the race every year and totally appreciated my perspective. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm like 6'3". I'm a tall fan. So that's a good segue for our Mark Small, because you were in Arkansas and us poor slobs here in Indianapolis, we had to listen on the radio. So let's listen to Mark Small talk, and then we're going to get to our guest. And I think I saw Tiffanie back there. We'll bring her out here if she's back to her studio yet, because she was driving. And we know when you're driving, it's very difficult to be on the show. It's hard enough without a car involved. So let's listen to Mark Small, see what he has to say. I think he's going to talk about the radio.
When I was a kid, we couldn't watch the Indianapolis 500 on TV. It wasn't telecast. We were in Indiana. So it was the radio we listened to. There was something about being able to listen to the 500 and have the announcers build everything up. Gentlemen, start your engines, and then they'd be off in the parade laps, and then individual announcers would be describing the cars as they're going by row by row. It's like, howdy Bell from inside 2, yes, we have rows 4, and by the time they get to the start of the race, you felt like you could see the colors of the cars, and you certainly could hear the engines except when the turbines ran, everything going by, and it was just this aspect of the year. The whole month you've been watching trackside or highlights of the day from the track on the local news, because it was the whole month. And when I moved here for law school, I remember going out to practice, and one year, I think it was 89, it was the last day of practice before time trials, and there were 100,000 people out there. When right after I was married, the first 500, we moved to Chicago, was 83, and we were going out to her parents in Clarendon Hills to cook out. And I said, they're going to have a radio, right? To listen to the race. And she said, yeah. And then I was getting towards the end, Sneva won, and her dad goes, you can watch it on TV. I was privileged to meet Paul Page at a cookout on Voice of the 500, and he was fantastic. He was very gracious in talking about the race. I remember listening to Sid Collins, and everything was so real. So when I watch the 500 on TV now, it's out of town, obviously, I still want to listen to the radio, because they're going to fill in so many different things you're not going to be able to see on TV. And it's just that aspect of being a Hoosier. Peace, love, happiness. Mark Small, Small Talk. Take care.
Yep. Oh, look, I almost did it right again. Still, I think Tiffany's getting close. So we'll bring her on. What's that?
Can I say something?
Of course.
All right. So I had the luxury of watching it on TV when I lived in Arkansas, but then moving here, and my first race after I left in 2002, ever since, I have watched it on the radio, and then I've kept the grandkids while the parents go to the race and all that. Everything he just said it about gets me emotional. Like it makes me want to cry, because listening to all of those commentators at every point around the track, and the way they describe it in detail, and the color and the sounds, it's like it puts you right there. To me, that is my most favorite part of the day, is when all of you leave and go to the race, and I turn on my radio and I get on the porch swing and I listen to it.
Yeah, and then you can hear it in the background too. Well,
yeah.
We used to listen to it, me and my dad, and my first race, Will, was 1970, and I like to think I'm the Andretti curse, because no Andretti's won since I went to the race in 1970. Yeah. I remember Mario being on the ticket the year before, so you blame me for the Andretti.
Alan Senior, first win, 1970, first back-to-back 70 to 71, the Johnny Lightning special cars. Pretty
Yeah,
impressive.
they were cool because I had the Hot
Yeah.
Wheels. That's we were just little kids. So the tradition seems to be one of the things that's very, very felt. I just have one question for you before we get started. Are you actually a New England Patriots fan?
No, oddly enough.
Oh, good. We like you then. You can stay on the show. I thought we were going to have to end it. Just quit it. So no, that's all right because
Los Angeles Rams.
Well, okay. I remember.
I don't know how that
Didn't
happened.
they used to be the St. Louis Rams?
Oh, they were, and they moved around a lot. Now they're back in LA. But I liked them in the early '70s when they had guys like Roman Gabriel and Lance Rensel and Merlin
Rosie
Olsen
Greer.
and Rosie Greer and
yeah. That's funny.
Deacon
They moved and
Jones.
they came back. So it's all good. All right. Well, hey, I'm hoping we can get Tiffanie up in here pretty soon. She was at an event with us tonight and she got caught by some clients. So she was driving along. So we're going to go ahead and start the questioning here. Lucy, as always, has a very interesting question for someone. So go ahead, Lucy. What do you got?
Will, the most impressive part of your story so far has been the incredible, massive action you took based on faith and a little bit of belief. So I really want to know, and this is a little bit off topic of the Indy 500, but you brought it up. I mean, it's part of your story. How do you trust in yourself, trust in God, and take that leap? I mean, what was that spark within you that was able to ignite that fire? Because man, your timeline, that's incredible.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I think part of it is, when we started our church, with 3 people in our living room and no money. And everybody said we couldn't do it and it wasn't going to work and we didn't have enough going on. And I don't know. I think when you believe in something strongly enough, and what really is the difference maker, I think, Lucy, is God starts opening doors. And when the doors start opening, they're incredible confirmations that you're on the right track. And so, first service, we had 12 people, right? I mean, it didn't matter. We got started, and the same thing was true race. I felt like God had given me this desire to get into the Indy 500. I didn't know how, I didn't know what, but we just kept meeting the right people. God just kept opening doors for us, and it happened. And it's that way now. I've got wonderful people that come into our lives and help us with the team. We're building quite a great team of people who just, love racing and love Indy 500 and, whether they're helping and they're investing financially, however, I mean, it's just a wonderful group of folks. But I think it's that, here's the thing. There's a story in the Old Testament when the children finally were going to get to cross into the promised land, and they needed to get across the river, right, across the water. And it talked about the fact that the priests went first. And when they stepped into the water parted. I really think that faith precedes action, action precedes blessing. And if you're not willing to get out of the boat, if you're not willing to take the risk of getting wet, if you're not willing to take the risk of failing, then you're never going to have a chance to see if God's there for you. And so I just feel like it's just watching God work as you take step by step, and God opens doors repeatedly, and you say, yeah, we're on the right track. Let's go this way. And that's kind of how everything's worked in my life that way for the last, 42 years.
Yeah, that's well,
incredible.
it's just sometimes it's just fun to roll along with it. And like you said, you can't say a prayer then sit on your hands, right? You got to be
Right.
able to do something. So hey, we got Tiffanie out there. So Will, I'm going to try to figure out how to get her out here for a second, see how she's frantically hustling around and trying to figure things out. Tiffanie, how are you? Did you make it okay back to Fishers?
I did. So in true race fashion, I forgot that I needed gas. So I was listening, Will, when you were talking about doing a splash and go.
That was our problem. We ran out of gas. Yeah.
So I was on 465 and I think I hit like 22 miles. And I'm kind of trying to think, and I made it to 116, and then my car said like 7 miles to empty. So God was the co-pilot, and I was like, I think I can make it to the Kroger on 116th Street, and I did. So I'm excited to be here, and I loved hearing your story. And John, can I make my confession now?
Yes, you can.
Will, I've never been to a race.
What? You've never been to what race?
Yeah, that's what we said.
The Indy 500?
Yeah.
I've never been. But I've lived here like 16 years. So I'm not a native. I've lived here 16 years. I've never been to a race, but I have been to Carb Day once.
Okay, well that's close. But what hinders you, Tiffany, from going to a race?
I love that question. So I live in Fisher, so I know that it's kind of far and there's a lot of traffic that goes on. But this year, the race is on my birthday, my 50th birthday.
Ooh.
So yeah, we have that. You could
So
drive the
I'm
pace
kind
car or
of on
something.
the fence a little bit about going because it's a very special day. You know, it's my 50th birthday, not just any birthday, and it's also race day.
Yeah.
We'll have
You
to see
have
if
to
somebody,
go.
somebody's got a ticket out there.
How could you miss it? I mean, that's providentially divine.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, your birthday. What better day to go than on your birthday?
Yeah,
I mean, it's like
maybe somebody in our audience has a ticket for you. What do you think about that? You got a couple fans out there that might want to do this. So, all right, let's go ahead and bring Will back out, and then we'll continue to grill him on the hot seat with these tough questions. But you know, just to take a break real quick, usually we do a political show. And we're doing a race show now. You do a political show, but here you're on a. It's hard to explain. So tell us a little bit about your political.
You know, I listened to the race in 1969 on WTIC, which is a flagship station in Connecticut, second oldest radio station. It was started by the Travelers Insurance Corporation, WTIC, 50,000 watt regional channel, and you know, I listened to Red Sox games. I listened to races on there. And when I was a kid, I would listen for cancellations, right? There would be they'd give all the cancellations for school. And I'd be sitting there, yeah, no, school, that's great. And so years later, you know, I'm a pastor, start a church. I get to be friends with the former governor of Connecticut. We got to be friends while he was governor. And really kind of God helped us to, you know, bring his faith along. And he was not governor anymore. And he called me one summer and he said, hey, he said, I just got a call from TIC. They want me to start a radio talk show. I said to them, I will do it only if my pastor can do it. And I said, well, gee, thanks for volunteering me, John, because you know, I'm a little busy as it is. And I don't know anything about it. I've never done radio before. He goes, oh, it'll work out fine. So in 2010, we started a show called Church and State, where he's the political guy, I'm the religious guy, and it was that show. It just took off. But I had to leave the show about 3 years into it because we were buying the campus that we're currently on, and it was a massive purchase and massive renovation, and I knew there was no way I could do radio and manage the church stuff, so I left. But I kept in good contact with them and came back in different roles. And long story short, so about, I don't know, 4 years ago, they called me and said the host of the morning show had some illness issues. And would you just come and be with him a couple days a week and help him? Yeah. And that turned in 5 days a week. And then he left the show. So 3 years ago, I got my own show, the Will Marotti Show. And it's a political talk show. But they're very good to me. And the show, I open the show every day in prayer. I'm able to talk about my faith. I'm able to talk about Jesus. I quote scripture frequently, but I talk about politics and I talk about some of the things that are happening in the world. And so I'm actually doing the show remote Tuesday from Speedway. Will Marotti shows we done live from Speedway, Indiana. I asked Lisa to be one of my guests. And I've got a number of guests, and I can't tell you about a big surprise that's coming up on the show. You have to wait until 28th. But the show is available online. You can go to WTIC.com, or you can download an application, and the company that owns the stations, second largest only to iHeart, it's called Odyssey, AUDACY, Odyssey Radio. You can download the app, the Odyssey app, and you can hear my show when it's on live Monday through Friday, 9 to 11 a.m. Eastern, or you can catch it in podcast and review. And, you know, so I love doing a lot of stuff. I mean, that's my problem. I just love too many things. I love being a pastor.
You'll fit right in on this show. Well, speaking of politics,
Oh.
I got one more thing I have to do here. We actually have a little rally coming up that Lucy's going to be at, and she's going to be introducing Mr. Donald Rainwater at this thing. It's about property taxes. Will, I don't know if you have them out there in Connecticut, but we
Oh,
sure got
gosh.
them here, and they sure are high. So it's just a little.
He laughs. Yes, he laughs. And
We have the second highest tax rate in the United States of
Well,
America.
we got the first now.
Connecticut has taxes like you only can dream nightmares about.
Yeah, well, we don't. So you're at the right show again, but our taxes are higher than somebody at a Grateful Dead concert. So here you go. Let's listen to this real quick. So yeah, we're hoping to add Jefferson Shreve and a councilman to that. So if we can get that done, we'll have a really good lineup. So I think now all of our stuff is done. So I'm going to go ahead, Tiffany. I'm going to give you a chance to ask a question, and then Lisa's next after that.
Great. So, Will, my question is, and I was listening as I was driving, and I loved you talking about the history. When I went to Carb Day, I met a lady, and what I love about the race is the people, because I did meet some really interesting people on Carb Day, and I met a lady, and like her great uncle won the Indy 500 one year, and it was many, many years ago, maybe the 50s or 60s, and then he died in a fatal wreck like a couple races later. Like maybe the race he did after the Indy 500 when he won. And it just really made me think about how athletic it is, how sporting it is, and how dangerous it is. And I have a lot of respect for the drivers. I had a beer one of the reasons I'm late is because I got for a beer over in Speedway. So, and I saw some car drivers with their cute little shirts on. It's like, yay, go make tacos. But my question for you, Will, is me like getting into it and becoming a midlife race fan. What is your encouragement and your coaching for me? How do I dip into IndyCar?
Find people to hang out with that know the sport, because you'll get so much more out of it. Like I have friends in Speedway now. One of my dearest friends, oddly enough, is her dad won the race in 1950. Johnny Parsons won the Indy 500. And so Patricia Parsons and her husband, Eggles, their begot sister, become dear friends of ours. So we got introduced to so many people, so many old timers whose fathers had won the Indy 500. We got a great friend in Brownsburg that has a restoration shop. His dad raced 6 times the Indy 500 and was killed one year at the Milwaukee track, the next race after that. So we've got, if you can get around people who have a history there or who know the race, it will be so good for you because you'll learn so much. And guess what? All of us who love this sport, we love to talk about it. We love to share stories. We love to tell you facts and factoids about what happened in 1968 and 1973. And so, if you can get around those kind of people, and we'd love to welcome you in our circle, but that will help you more than anything is get around people who love the sport. It's just like being a person of faith, right? I don't say all your friends have to be Christians, but some of your friends have to be Christians because you need people that can help you along and pray for you and guide you and stuff, right? So it's the same thing. Get some racing friends, break into some racing circles, and it really will enhance your fandom, your fan experience.
Fandom,
Yay.
yes.
Thank you.
Yeah,
and I don't own any black and white checkered stuff either. So maybe I can even
Lisa will hook you up.
Yeah.
No, I see that.
Yeah, that's she does a little bit. So Lisa, speaking of Lisa, you've been quiet longer than I'm used to. So go ahead.
I'm loving hearing Will talk about all of this and answering the questions because everything that he says is what's like near and dear to my heart. So Johnny Parsons, I met multiple times when I worked at the track, and he was just so gracious, just the sweetest man. And I'll never forget the first time I actually met him was in the elevator of the museum. And we got on the elevator together, and my office was upstairs. He was going up to the photo shop, and I looked at him. I said, "How are you doing today?" And I said, I think I said, "Mr. Parsons." And he said, "I'm really good. You know who I am?" And I said, Of course I know who you are. So just like little moments like that are just like filed away in my brain. But also like my question for you is, aside from what you've already shared, like what is your favorite like racing moment? And before you answer, I want to tell you about when my then husband and I came here to visit, deciding to move here. And it was the 95, May of 95.
Mhm.
And we were still part of the, there was no IRL. It was the IndyCar series. So the split hadn't happened yet. And we were there on on bump day, on Sunday bump day. And do you remember the name Danny Drynan?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so Danny had tried to qualify for the 500 so many times, went out at like 5:58 on Sunday and did not make it in. And so we were sitting up in the paddock. They let you sit wherever you wanted. And we were a huge fan. We used to watch him on Thursday Night Thunder on ESPN from Little Rock, Arkansas. And so here we are cheering for this guy who's an open wheel guy. And he didn't make it in, and it just was so disappointing. So that's like one of those moments that stands out in my mind. Now, then we moved to Indy, and then my then husband ends up working for Danny a couple of times. And so here we are, he's working for a guy who we watched on TV all the time. So what is that kind of moment for you? Like what is a moment that's like racing or drama or whatever that really stands out in your mind, in your history before you became involved in the sport?
You know, there's just it's hard. It's hard because there's so many things I could point to, but the most dramatic moment for me in my entire racing life as a fan, as a participant, as a driver for a brief period of time, has to do with 2016. I have a partner here in Connecticut, Jim Abley. Has been a wonderful. He's a Christian brother. He's a wonderful guy, and he's just been there every step of the way. We got started, and it was just Jim and I, and we were out at 16. And it was a few days before the race, and we were both out in the garage area. And Jim walked over and he goes, "Have you looked at the pit wall recently?" I said, "No, I really haven't, because I'm always on this side. I'm not on the track side of the pit wall." He goes, "You need to go out look in the pit wall." I said, "Really?" He goes, "Yeah, come on, let's go take a walk." So we took a walk from the garage area out to the pits, and our pit box was cool. It's right at the yard of bricks. So it was a very noticeable pit box. And he said, "Hop over, take a look at it." So I jumped over the wall and I stepped back. And this was not part of the deal. Sam Schmidt did this on his own. I didn't ask for it. It wasn't in the contract. But Sam had abbreviated Schmidt Peterson to SPM. So Oriole Servia's name was on the pit wall. SPM was on the pit wall. And the huge last part of the pit wall was our family name, Marotti. And when I saw that, I was overcome with emotion, because my mom was in heaven already. Sorry. But my dad was there, and my sister was there, and a lot of my friends from childhood were there. And I was so proud to have our family name on the pit wall of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. That by far is I'm sorry.
That is exactly what this is all about. And the fact that you get emotional, I get emotional, like, and I would say that any fan that has ever gone, so Tiffanie, you've got to go. Like you just got to go.
Yeah, you got to go.
I feel like I gotta go.
It is, you know, I am not going to discount my faith and the power of God and the Holy Spirit and all that, but it is like a spiritual experience, really, you know, because it's just so historic.
There's just nothing like it. I mean, honestly, you know, when you're in a group of 350,000 people and they ask everyone to stand, and then they're going to pray the invocation, and you can hear a pin drop.
It is insane.
It's eerily frightening. It's so quiet, but the tradition is so palpable, and you know that you've been there in over 100 years. They've been doing this, right? I mean, it's just it's hard to explain, but Tiffanie, you've got to go for your birthday. You just
Yeah,
have
you got to
go.
see you would like the flyovers. I remember one year
Oh,
when
gosh.
the
Yeah.
stealth bomber came over, and we sat in the Southwest Vista on the south of and I think I could see the serial numbers on that stealth bomber. It was that close. I think it took a little bit off the top of me there too. But yeah, you got to go. I mean, you cannot explain it.
I will add that I do go to the race parade every year. I do that. So
it's no comparison.
I know. I mean, I do get into the spirit and acknowledging how important
I didn't want to say it. Thank you.
Indianapolis. So I go to the parade. I just haven't given up the Sunday.
No, you got to go to the race. You got to go to the race.
So Lucy, what you've been to the race before, right? Lucy, you've been?
So yes, once. And this is the sad thing is I didn't go until I think it was basically 48th birthday present from my best friend. And her family goes every single year. Like it's part of their family's culture, but I grew up so close to it, but I never really, had the money or time to go. Will, I got married at 19 and I have 10 kids and still haven't killed the guy after 32 years.
Awesome. Wow.
I haven't seen Dorn in weeks, though. I don't know.
He's actually working on a customer's website. Believe it or not, we have an Amish bakery that's one of his website customers since he does digital marketing. So he's been working on theirs today. But it wasn't until a few years ago that I finally got to go. I was always there, Carb Day as a teenager. And when I was a little girl in the 70s, there was an A&P grocery store that was right at 30th and Georgetown Road. And like people would park their RVs there and I'd go buy the souvenir papers and my mom would drive around, like shadowing me and I would go sell the papers. And all these drunk people would give me so much money, like $5 for a paper that I got for, a dime. It was awesome. It was really awesome.
So in 1982, was the snake pit still around then, Will? I think it was.
Oh, I mean, the snake pit. Oh my gosh, the snake pit. I didn't know about it until I found it, and I was like, when you're a young non-practicing Christian hormonal guy, the snake pit was more than you could possibly handle it. But
more things that were burning than the couches.
Oh my
Is that what
gosh.
you're trying to say?
I remember the night before the race we were on Georgetown before they had closed it off, and they had constructed a wall of beer cans that had to be 5 feet high and 4 feet deep. And at the end of it, they had to bring in a bucket loader to clear it off. I mean, it was amazing. I saw things that I'd never seen before as a young man, but really the race was I mean, I don't know. I felt like the entire race in 1982, I was in an out of body experience. It was like all those years having listened to it as a young boy, and Lisa, here's the thing. Okay. So I listened to it on the radio and then it was tape delay on ABC. And then I'd watch it at night and then try to piece together what I heard on the radio.
Yeah.
I mean, it was the time of our lives. It was wonderful, So yeah, I mean, it's the greatest spectacle in racing, but it's the greatest. And, the fact that families have been going for 50, 60, 70 years, the same seats and all the stories they have, it is, there's nothing like it. It's Americana at its finest.
Yeah. Hey, Johnny, can I say something real quick to tag on what he just said? So,
oh yeah, go ahead. I was going to ask you a question about one of your famous actors that you might have met at the track.
I'll tell that story too.
So just sort of spin that into there, so I don't have to get back involved with the show.
The history and families going year after year, and the generational love of this big event. So my oldest daughter's son-in-law, who, by the way, works for Chick-fil-A headquarters outside of Atlanta. Go Chick-fil-A. I have the pop socket on my phone for my grandkids to show for it.
Chicken for Jesus.
Yeah. So they got married on December 27th because the then husband worked in racing and we didn't want to have to deal with a potential rain out and have a wedding during normal wedding season, which is also race season. Their reception was in the pavilion behind the Brickyard Motel. And we had 70 of the 92 rooms booked because most of his family was from out of town. And the week before the wedding, I get a call from the general manager of the motel, Kelly Bailey. And I'm on my way home from work, and he says, "Hey, Lise, what are you doing?" I said, "I'm on my way home from work." And he's like, "Can you call me when you get home?" And I said, "Kelly, the only time anybody has said that when I'm driving is when someone died. So give me the deal. Why are you calling me?" He said, "Well, we've been in meetings all day long, and we are closing the motel, and it's going to be demolished next week." And I said, "Kelly?" And he goes, "No, but we've been talking about you all day. We're going to honor your event. Your guests are going to be the last guests to stay in the motel before it gets torn down the next day." So literally the day after my daughter and son-in-law got married, the bulldozers came in. And so his family had gone at that point. So they've been married. What is it, John? It's more than 10 years. It's like 12 or 13 years.
A lot of years.
So at that point, they had gone to every race for like 40 years. His family's had the same tickets in the same section for 40 years. And it to me, that's so special. Like, these families pass down these tickets. They have stories. They know the people who sit on either side of them, who are from other cities, other states. They communicate with them all year long. "Hey, can't wait to see you at the race." Same with the whole parking situation. People park in people's yards that have parked in the same yard for 30 years.
Yeah,
And they get to know these people and know their families and all that good stuff. So so that's another really fun story for me. And then, John, what was the next one?
Who's the most famousest person that you met? I remember Dr. Dreamy or whatever you're talking about.
So my last 500 was 2001. And as an HR person, they would always put me somewhere to like check in suite holders and things like that. Hopefully I didn't have any HR duties on race day unless someone got hurt or things like that. And so I was always at the table to check in the pagoda suite holders, which were all of the VIPs. So actors, actresses, the people that are singing the national anthem, all that kind of stuff. And we would stay at the table until about 10 laps into the race. And then we figured everyone was in their suite. We didn't need to check any more badges. We could take the table down and go watch the race or whatever. And so we're getting ready to tear down. And the lady who was standing with me, helping me, I see this guy come walking through, and I elbowed her and I said, "Oh my gosh, look who that is." And she's like, "Is that somebody?" And I looked at her and I said, "Diane, are you kidding me? Is that somebody?" And then he had gotten so close that I said, "I'll have to tell you after he approaches us," because we treated those VIPs just like any other human. We all put our pants on the same way. We can't look at them as like, "Ooh, VIP, celebrity," And so he walks up and he's kind of like looking around. And I said, "Can we help you find something?" And he's like, "I'm just looking for a first aid station." And I said, "Well, there are a couple of them, but it's like really far walk that way to Hannah, or really far walk that way through a tunnel and down the outside of the track." I was like, "But you're not bleeding. So what can we help you find?" He's like, "I have a really bad headache. I need some Tylenol." And I said, "Well, I know you don't know me from Adam, but I happen to have some Tylenol in my purse." And he says, "Well, you have on a Wing and Wheel shirt. You have credentials on. You work here." He's like, "I trust you." And so I gave 2 of my Tylenol to Patrick Dempsey.
Yay.
Yeah.
So
Wait
a minute, I can add on to that. Wait a minute.
This was before Grey's Anatomy.
What year was that?
This was 2001. This was before Grey's Anatomy. But
Okay.
he had been in all those 80s cult classic movies.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And
so Can't Buy Me Love,
time-
all that good stuff. So fast forward, I moved here in 2007. I probably bumped into him maybe 2010-ish at Seasons 52 on the north side. It was race weekend and he was there. So see, I've had a touch too. Yay.
Yay.
How about you, Lucy? Did you see him somewhere?
That was his first race.
Uh-huh.
And that was right before he got the bug. And then he started racing. He started coming for every race. And I left that next year. And so my old HR folks, our office was in the Brickyard Plaza on 16th Street across from the track. So it was kind of away from all of the hustle and bustle. And so that was where all the VIPs would come and hang out with the IMS radio network and all those people, because they could be out of the public eye and have a place to just hang. And so my old staff would text me pictures. Look, Lisa, look who we're hanging out with, and all arm in arm with Patrick Dempsey. I'm like, you stink. So yeah, if I'd stayed, I probably would have his number or at least an autograph or something. But I gave him 2 Tylenol. So that's my one of my most fun memories. So
brushes with famousness. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's see. I think we're getting close to the end here. But this has been like walking down memory lane tonight of Tales from the Track. I think they actually have a Tales from the Track thing, and we've been to a couple of those with Bobby Unser and all that and all that. So we'll give you the final word here. We do have conspiracy theory, but I don't think we're going to do it tonight. Raise your hand if you want to do conspiracy theory. 2 people, 2 out of 4.
I don't have a hat though.
That's okay. You're sort of a guest speaker. So
actually, I might have a hat. I think
you got outvoted. You got outvoted.
I have a conspiracy fact, but it's okay. Let's do it.
Okay, let's do it.
Before we do that, could I just shamelessly promote 2 things that are going on?
No, you can shamelessly promote. If you got 3 things going on, do it. We're going to give you the last word.
All right. So, we're doing the book launch at the USAC building on Friday, the 19th at 3 p.m. We're also having our team party on Tuesday night at Turn 4 Restoration in Brownsburg. If people want, there's still tickets available for that. If they want to go, they can go to either of our social media channels, either Spirit of Speedway on Instagram or Marotti Auto Sport on Instagram, and click the link in the bio and you can get tickets there. And then on Friday, the Friday before the race, they're having this cool event. Everybody knows about it, Rockin' on Main. We're going to have the Spirit of Speedway Eagle there, and 16 other vintage Indy cars are going to be there. I'll be there. Our team's going to be there. Vintage Indy is going to be there. Our good friend Mike Lashman's going to be there. So there's a lot going on. But the book launch at USAC on Friday, 3 to 6. Our team party on the 23rd. Our tickets are still available. And Rockin' on Main, the Friday before the 500. Carb Day night is Rockin' on Main. And it's going to be a wonderful event. And I hope a lot of folks come out. I'd love to see everybody there.
Yeah, we'll put that in the chat, our live chat, and then let's see. Some of that won't get on, but this will air on Channel 40 next Monday, so some of that stuff will get in before time. I mean, the Carb Day will happen. We just appreciate you coming on tonight. It's just always great to hear stories about the track, and of course, one of the things we talked about in our Mouthwash staff meeting is that we may just do Mouthwash in May next year, where we just cover the 500 stuff. So we're gonna have to get some people to come on and talk about it. But it is a special time here, and in Speedway, it's like great. So thanks for coming on. Oh, go ahead.
Are you gonna stay after backstage, or are you hopping off now?
I'm hopping off now because I have to call my brother in Vermont because it's his birthday, and I have to get him before he goes away. I just want to say thank you so much, John and Lisa. And Lisa, I'm looking forward to you being on my radio show Tuesday morning. And Lucy, pleasure to meet you. And Tiffanie, we'll be celebrating your birthday. Hopefully, you'll be celebrating at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Hundreds of the running of the Indianapolis 500. Hey, guys, thank you so much. Love you all. Thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it. Great honor.
Will.
Thank you.
All right. See ya. All right. That was hey, you're taking Lucy's role now on how to get out there.
Hey, look there. There's communism right there. There's equality.
That was good. Well, it's just always good to talk about stories at the track. I've got so many stories of being there, and it's weird growing up here. And Lucy, you and I both sort of grew up in the area, and you just sort of take it for granted that you don't realize it's the biggest thing in the world. It's just like, everybody, you can go anytime.
Largest single day sporting event in the world.
So cool. My favorite part is a teenage girl was walking around and guys would hold up, the signs that said, "Show me your id."
Your bank statement. Oh,
yeah. Yeah, there was one year that guy had "Show me your id," and I'm like, well, somebody I can have a conversation with.
Yeah, it's amazing how many will do that. Will actually apply. But
my best friend did. I had to help her get out of jail because her dad was the county assessor. He was actually an elected position. So, you got to have your 2 a.m. friend who will answer the payphone from the jail.
So she got arrested for flashing or for drinking or
for flashing.
Really?
Yes.
That's like
teenage girls do that all the time. We were so stupid. I never did it. And unfortunately, one of my friends did it and got caught. But
victimless crime.
Yeah,
Exactly.
so much stuff has changed. The snake pit on turn one used to be there, and they used to have the hotel that was there, and now it's they have a road course inside. It's gotten better, but as far as it's gotten different, but the tradition is still there. So many people have talk about the tradition. So, are you ready for the conspiracy theory? Are you ready? Okay, here you go. Hey, y'all, better get your tinfoil hats out. It's time for the conspiracy theory. Come on now, let's go. Okay. Oh, yeah. Hold on. There was a poll. We did a poll.
She has a pouch on her head.
Oh, God. I will never, ever on the show again, ever.
It's my laptop case.
Yeah, she looks like the wizard.
She looks like the Tin Man.
It's the only thing I had that was metallic.
That's
oh
awesome.
My gosh. So go ahead, Lucy. We're going to start with you.
Of course, because I've already got one.
There.
Well, I didn't really. I'm so glad that Will is gone because I thought that he might be heartbroken by the conspiracy theory. It's Bill Gates' fault that Will did not win the year that they came in like 12th when they should have come in first, second, third, fourth. You see, Bill Gates' software, he's famous, right, for writing the antivirus software that he created the viruses for so that he could then have the antivirus. It was actually the blue screen of death caused by the Microsoft operating system, which took out their car. They thought they had enough gas. They got the blue screen of death. And then they tried to do the splash and dash, but Bill Gates' software was still in beta. And as a result, he didn't win.
Was Clippy on the dashboard? Remember Clippy from the 90s?
Oh yeah, that was awesome. Yeah. Clippy was awesome.
Well, I'm going to go next because mine's not that great, but it's a Bill Gates conspiracy, and this is back in it was a NASCAR race. The only NASCAR race I've ever been to. It was a NASCAR race at the Indy 500. Remember when all the rubber came off of the tires? They had to come in every. Who was behind that? Bill Gates.
Of course it was.
Yeah. I mean,
it was another one of his failed programs, and he had the monopoly on the tires. They were probably made from GMO corn or GMO.
He was getting paid. Yeah, they had GMOs in them, and they came spinning off. And actually, I was in the turn 2 suite, and it was like black soot coming down. It was a great seats, a great everything. And it was like every 10 laps, they got to go in and, pay homage to Bill Gates because he was getting paid by the tire during that race. So Tiffany, I'm saving the wizard for the last because I can't hardly look at her. I got to put my hand up over here. Tiffany, go ahead.
I do. I want to introduce you guys to Bigfoot.
Oh!
Look, I found him.
That's a fur ball.
That's so cute.
He's camera shy.
He's like a giant Pomeranian.
Yeah, I adopted him on Saturday from the Hamilton County Humane Society. And
he lucked out. What a good mommy.
Thank you. He's 7 years old, and somebody surrendered him. I'm doing a foster to adopt. They're covering his health issues. He had some teeth extracted, and he has a polyp in his ear. But he's mine, and he loves me. And I finally captured Bigfoot.
He's adorable.
That's Littlefoot. Okay, before we get to
what's his name?
His name is Otis.
It should be Lucky. So before we get to Lisa, we take our show seriously, and sometimes I put a poll on People Over Politics. And so I had some feedback from somebody. I said, I'd love to hear your feedback about the Mouthwash show. Somebody told me that I was not serious enough on the show. Which of the choices below fits my attitude, personality on the show, in your opinion? First choice, total clown, 3%. So I got some people out there. Keep it light-hearted, 74%. I prefer more seriousness, 7%. No opinion, 16%. So the votes are in. 3 out of 4 people think we should keep it lightheaded and do silly things like this.
Lighthearted, not lightheaded.
Yeah. Well, I do that too pretty well. I practice Marotti. I still can't even say it right. It's not even that hard to say. Lisa tried to make me
Marotti.
Yeah, I know. I know. It's easy. Marotti. Okay, I got it. Well, next time I'll get it right. Okay, Wizard, AK for the Love of Speedway. What conspiracy do you have there?
What am I going to do with you? Okay, so mine is I think a conspiracy theory with a little fact in it, and it's racing related. So, Lucy, I'm not going to let you use your fingers to find out the answer to this, but do you happen to know who won the race in 1963, 60 years ago?
No.
All right. So I'm going to say that the winner of the 1963 race willed it for me to leave the South and move to Arkansas, or move to Indiana from Arkansas, so that I could have the history and the love of the track like he did and his family has and his kids had. Parnelli Jones won the race 60 years ago, and I will be 60. So it was the year that I was born. And he is from Texarkana, which is an hour and a half from my little bitty hometown in Arkansas. And then his kids went on to race as well. So, yeah. So that's my connection. I'm just going to go with the fact that I think that he willed it for me to be here. So,
And you got to keep up with the Joneses. So there you got that.
Oh, boom, Johnny. That's good.
Yeah, thinking on my feet here, lightheaded a little lightheaded with the tinfoil. so well, it's been great having you ladies on the show. I thought for a minute there that me and Will were just along for the ride when you guys were having a conversation, but it was awesome. So we have next week we're going to talk about some building permit issues here in Indianapolis. So if you haven't seen the recent, there's a gentleman up at Geist that's been fighting with the city for like 7 years about his patio that he just sort of rebuilt. And it's the mother of all permit stories. And I'll have a couple of my own to throw in there. And then also I'm going to do a plug for our forensic foreplay. We're going to have actually somebody on about the Suzanne Morphew case, who was a local woman that went missing on Mother's Day 3 years ago out in Colorado. So that one's a true crime show. And I look, Tiffany's like, I want to watch that. I think that'd be good. So that true crime stuff's big business. So anybody else have any final parting words? Now, Tiffany, are you going to go to the race? Are you going to?
She's muted.
We can't hear you. We can't.
It's not like going to the movies. I'm going to actually have to do some planning. So it's going to take a little bit of planning. I'm up for going to the race. I just have to work through the logistics.
Yeah, it's good.
And I need an outfit.
It's not the Derby. You don't wear a hat and all that. It's not like the Derby, but it is an outfit. Comfortable. Yeah, it's a lot of walking. It's 2.5 miles around that thing, and there's nothing close. So, all right, everybody, thanks for being here tonight. I think we'll have our regular panel next week. Jordan will be. Lisa is taking place for Jordan, Tiffany, and Lucy. We'll see you all next week. Let me push the right button here. Over now.
Yeah!